I know a lot of people are pontificating on the train wreck that Trump was at this National Association of Black Journalists panel. He was a rambling train wreck full of racism and tangents and things that didn't answer any of the questions. But Dr. Jack Brown decided to talk about Trump and this water bottle situation. This analysis in this tweet thread was definitely interesting, and he did it in 25 different tweets. He says, body language and behavior analysis, number 4758, getting to the bottom of Trump's bizarre water bottle behavior at the National Association of Black Journalists conference. Hashtag emotional intelligence, hashtag body language, hashtag body language expert, hashtag behavior analyst, hashtag Donald Trump.
So what I wanted to say was the last time we spoke, you said some more.
So let's talk about what's happening in this video. That's his water bottle on his right-hand side. He is right-handed. He's reaching across this center table while she's looking at one of the other journalists and grabs her water bottle, then twisting the lid, making it more challenging for her to open should she need it. This behavior by Trump is both a control tactic and a form of abuse, okay? He recognizes in this setting, the only thing that she has of vulnerability is this bottle of water. I don't know if you know this, but one of the reactions when you have any type of anxiety, if you're in a high stress situation, is you get dry mouth. You desperately want a drink of water. And he's trying to create a situation where it makes it more challenging for her to access her water. Why would he do that? He literally did this on a stage with everyone watching like it was second nature. This is the human being you want to put back in political power. This is the person you swear up and down hasn't harmed women sexually. This is the person that you think doesn't have narcissistic behavior. You're wrong.
Perhaps you saw clips from Donald Trump's appearance yesterday at the National Association of Black Journalists conference. If so, you were probably bowled over with Trump's behavior, particularly, but not limited to, his misogyny and his racism. Among other things, Donald Trump told the audience that Kamala Harris decided to turn black after she had previously identified as of Indian heritage. Trump's allegations are false. He was lying. Many people are curious and alarmed at Trump's water bottle behavior. About 21 minutes, 26 seconds after he took the stage, Trump reached over across the table located between their chairs and grabbed the water bottle placed next to the journalist seated to his left, Rachel Scott of ABC News.
So what I wanted to say was the last time we spoke, you said some words.
Notably, Ms. Scott had just looked to her left, away from Trump. Thus, she could not see him take her water bottle. Also, Trump had his own water bottle and glass to his right on his own table. Trump did not drink from the water bottle at this moment. He tightened the cap while not breaking the seal and placed it back on the table, but much closer to him than Rachel Scott. 7 minutes and 48 seconds later, Trump once again picked up the water bottle, broke the seal, and drank from it. Then he placed the bottle back on the table, even closer to him. I circled it right here where he had grabbed the bottle and placed it closer to him. During this second occasion, Ms. Scott was rotated towards Trump. While reading from her notes, she was asking him a question. Ms. Scott did not appear to realize that Trump had drunk from her bottle. Trump's stealing Rachel Scott's water bottle? Is it possible to separate this from his other behaviors during this conference? All right, then he starts to talk about the other situations where he was a bully with his body language. He says in number 11, we all know that Donald Trump is a bully and routinely violates people's personal and intimate spaces. Who can forget when he stalked Hillary Clinton around the debate stage in 2016? Look at this picture of him being weird and invading her space. And then how about when he shook Nancy Pelosi's hand on the day of his inauguration, invading her space, pulling her toward him, pulling her arm upward, twisting her wrist, and squeezing her hand. This is obviously, it looks like he's trying to intimidate her. You can see that in his body language, even in this picture. And we can never forget how during the 2017 NATO summit, Trump pushed his way through multiple leaders, grabbing and pulling Dusko Markovich and the Montenegrin prime minister by his upper arm. I don't know if you guys remember seeing him push through this crowd, but I definitely remember that. With our many years of observing Trump's behavior, it's perfectly reasonable to conclude that what Trump was doing when he grabbed Rachel Scott's water bottle was a variation of more bullying, misogyny, creepy, stalking, attempt at dominance, and objectifying behavior. We can also add hashtag weird AF. Not to be ignored, though, whether real or feigned, is Trump's purported germophobia. Moreover, it's extremely rare to see Trump eat in public and almost as unusual for him to drink even water publicly. He's only done so a handful of times since 2015. In addition, Trump is paranoid and only tends to drink water publicly when he's in control of the water bottle's source. And he wasn't in control of the source of it yesterday. He was a guest. This behavior doesn't square. With these idiosyncrasies in mind, it would be particularly odd and light years out of context for him to invade another person's personal space in order to eat from their plate or drink from their bottle in order to exert dominance, bullying, or to intimidate. Outside of childhood and some affectionate relationships, the snatching of food or drinks from other people's plates, bottles, cups without their consent is extremely odd behavior. I would also add weird AF. Hashtag weird AF. Non-consensual grabbing of food and snatching of drink from another person's plate or glass by an adult is a sign exhibited in patients with frontotemporal dementia. Numerous clinicians have noted that Trump does exhibit multiple signs of dementia. Frontotemporal dementia is but one subtype of dementia. However, given his act of stealing Rachel Scott's water bottle and then drinking from it, taken in with Trump's numerous other signs, is highly suggestive of this specific diagnosis. While it's entirely possible Donald Trump stole and drank from Rachel Scott's water bottle to bully, intimidate, dominate, objectify, and creep out Rachel Scott, taken in context and collectively with Trump's other progressive signs, this specific food stealing, drink snatching behavior with the high probability is a manifestation of frontotemporal dementia. Inquiries regarding teaching, one-on-one or groups, keynotes, consulting, impress, Jack at bodylanguagesuccess.com. So that's the end of his thread, and I thought that was very interesting and decided y'all needed to see it too. Do like Jim here. He was very straightforward. He said, here's my analysis. He gave one comment, not a whole thread. He said, the behavior is a direct result of Trump being a knuckle-dragging, mouth-breathing a-hole. Very simple, to the point, succinct. Kat says, men like him is the reason women never leave their drinks unattended in public spaces. KG Dave says he has no awareness of his surroundings, and that doesn't matter because he's a white male pig who thinks everything is his to take. And then Jane says, I think Trump was nervous and forgot that it wasn't his bottle of water. He's so used to simply taking what he wants. He assumed he could take any bottle of water. He doesn't see the social boundaries the rest of us do. He's never lived that way in his life. And then she gives this picture of Trump looking at himself in the mirror and seeing a king. This is very appropriate, and that is the reason why I'm going to leave it here. Let me know what you think about this. I really believe many of these men live in Delululand, their fantasy world. Nick says almost every single unmarried 40-year-old man that I know wants to marry a woman aged 28 to 32. That is their right. They can have their preferences, but they are really out here believing that women almost a decade or more than a decade younger than them actually want them. And these men, these normal men, are not aging that well for them to really think that the normal everyday 40-year-old man can pull a woman that is nearly a decade younger. Now, I am in my 40s, but I was once 28 to 32. There was zero chance when I was in my 20s that I was checking for a man that was 10 years older than me. Never, ever. And many of the younger women these days are saying, ew, brother, ew. At a loss responds to Nick saying, it is because men do not see their chronological age in a mirror. They see their age in the face of the women they are with. Zero self-awareness and a lot of wishful thinking. If she is 30, then hell yeah, I'm not middle-aged, I'm just getting started. But also, I do not believe that enough of them have actual mirrors. Enough of them are not looking at themselves and seeing what we see. That is one of the main reasons why we need to speak to them and be their reflection, because they are not looking at themselves. We need to be saying, sorry, no, Derek, no, Brent. Nick says, wow, this hits. Citra says biology remains undefeated and it absolutely hits. Christine says, when I was that age, I thought men that age were old and creepy. Went on a few dates, had nothing in common, did not like their music. People who want kids should get married when they are younger. Now, Christine hones in on music, but this could literally be anything. Anybody born more than a decade older than you has different interests or, different pop culture references and all of that. Not saying that it wouldn't work, but maybe this is a valid argument. Nick says, oh, interesting, especially about not liking their music. That's the first that I've heard, but it totally makes sense. Christine says, I remember sitting in the bar in KL listening to 70s schlock, thinking, get me out of here. And Jillian says, yes, but what's in it for the woman? Women's lifespans are longer. In the US, 79 versus a man 73. So this means the person she's built the closest relationship will probably die about 20 years before her. So maybe for the first 10 years, she'll benefit from being partnered with a man who is further along professionally and thus brings more stability, but she's trading for 20 plus years of potential loneliness at the end of her life. Women are having kids well into their 40s or 50s these days, especially if they froze eggs young. I know so many effing amazing women in the 35 to 45-year-old bracket. The 28 to 32 bracket means you're playing for a small, hyper-competitive pool of people who are unlikely to want to commit to someone so much older. So down here, she's talking about women in their 40s and 50s these days are having kids. And that could very well be true. Obviously, that's going to be a smaller number than women in their 30s having kids. But women in their 20s are absolutely declining as far as the birth rate. The Baba and Cuss says women are not having kids into their 40s and 50s. This is a nonsense being sold to young women. It's not about frozen eggs. Your body has to carry the pregnancy. Miscarriages, which are tragic, increase with age. Have kids before 35, preferably before 30. The 30s are a perfectly amazing time to have your kids if you remain healthy and do the things that you need to do as far as taking care of yourself and taking care of yourself financially and physically to where you can hold, you can do a pregnancy for the whole term. Don't let these men rush you into having kids into your 20s. In your 20s. The birth rate is going down for a reason. Women are opting out, and it's perfectly fine to have kids in your 30s. Jillian responds to him saying, I promise I've done more research into this than you. And I personally know several women who've gotten pregnant in their 40s and 50s. Pregnancy absolutely gets riskier with age, and I'm all for having kids younger, but it's also not impossible, especially if you're willing or able to invest in IVF. A successfully implanted embryo has a 95% chance of carrying to term versus 40 to 60% of natural pregnancies, which end in pregnancy. Stats are fuzzy because a lot of women miscarry before they even realize they're pregnant. Now, I am not pushing this to push having babies in their 40s or 50s. I'm just saying women have options. And if you have money, you have more options. Let's do some of the quote retweets. Yeah says, we don't want them though. Real life 40-year-old men are not what you see on the TV. They're usually balding, pot-bellied, wrinkly, and if they're still single at that age, they tend to carry a bitterness chip on their shoulder about them. Not great to be around, to be honest. L says, almost every single unmarried 28 to 32-year-old woman that I know wants an age-appropriate husband. Petra says, a friendly reminder that sperm quality declines after 40, and low-quality sperm is one of the main causes of miscarriage. Miri Vinny says, why didn't they marry their girlfriend age 28 to 32 when they were age 28 to 32? So I was sent this tweet thread from Whit Marie. She says, it's a comedian in here and he gonna say he has his first child on the way. Wish it was a son, but he's having a daughter. Then he says, don't get me wrong, Black women are a blessing to the world, but this B word is expensive already. Talking about his daughter, and got booed off the stage. He got booed. He called his daughter the B word.
Detroit, you're not going to get PJ for another 2 minutes, so... You got to sit in silence. Let me finish. I'm going to let y'all go ahead and do.
This is the comedian. And I am glad that he got booed. And I'm glad that calling women the B word might not be as funny as it used to be, because for too long, just punching down at Black women was hysterical to people. But I guess talking about his own unborn daughter is just a bridge too far for some people. With Marie says, that ish was so ridiculous. Mr. Angoin says, like, what's wrong with you, dog? Jay says, is it too late for the mom to do that one thing? And Witwit says, I literally said the same thing because F no. La Huncha says, because why the F would you even say that? And Witwit wondered, the entire place booed that N word. And he got mad, like, did you hear what you just said? KT says, the audience having more regard for your child than you is nasty. Vote Democrat says, as he should have. Men are so weird. Mia Hamza says, what a loser. Sorry you had to hear that. That poor little girl. The biggest man, this probably says hater, says calling his unborn daughter a B word is nasty work. What the F? So Clint, the comedian, said, made a bad joke tonight in Detroit. Anyone who was there and offended by what I guess I said, I truly apologize, and that wasn't my intent. I meant it in jest, and that's not how I feel about my child. I'll do better and won't ever make that mistake again. I was wrong. I do like the fact that he said I was wrong and he won't make that mistake again. And maybe he won't. Maybe he won't say it out loud in public. But why do these people think that joking about this type of thing is so funny? I guess in times past, talking crazy about Black women and girls was so funny and everybody laughed. But times are shifting. Black women, we're not accepting this. And I guess from the way the people in the audience were acting, even Black men are like, this is a bridge too far. I do want to know what you think. Go ahead and weigh in and let me know. Don't forget to like, comment, and share.